Welcome to XIO Voice. Continuing from the previous episode 175. A soft, gentle voice lingered over the sky. The snowflakes across the sky suddenly paused when the voice spread. After which, they melted, forming visible ripples that spread out in all directions in a circular fashion. Xiao Yan, whose eyes were blood red, suddenly trembled when this gentle voice, that contained an ethereal feeling, reached his ears. The blood color within his eyes swiftly scattered and the annihilation fire lotus in his hand quietly disappeared. Xiao Yan's throat vaguely rolled as his eyes slid to the distorted space with an expression of disbelief. This voice, almost a soul-deep familiarity. Even if Xiao Yan had forgotten his own voice, this voice, that had already been deeply imprinted in his heart, would never be forgotten by him. Xiao Yan's throat rolled. A moment later, a soft muttering tone slowly unfurled from his mouth. The voice contained a false dream-like feeling within it. The expression of Bing He, which had originally been indifferent, changed because of this sudden unexpected change. His eyes stared at the two elderly figures in front of the distorted space, and they immediately narrowed. While Bing He's expression changed, his gaze landed on the distorted space. A delicate, green-colored figure slowly walked away from that spot. After which, she gently strode out of the distorted space in front of a countless number of eyes, appearing in this snowflake land. The green clothes on the lady's body were not luxurious. However, they faintly contained a distinguished aura that seemed to originate from nature. This kind of distinguishment was not that of an earthly aura. Instead, it was a noble aura that belonged to the overlord of this world. It was just like the bloodline of a king with a long history, and it had not vanished despite time. The figure's long black hair was randomly restrained by a pale purple ribbon, compliantly hanging along the moving figure's body. Occasionally, a gentle breeze would form and the black hair would flutter, emitting a feeling out of this world. The figure appeared as though she was a fairy who had accidentally entered the mortal realm, possessing an ethereal aura that did not allow others to hide. Many eyes were shifted up and paused on the flawless face of the green-clothed lady. Her white skin appeared as though it would break by just blowing over it, even though it contained an alluring, rosy redness. There was a gentle smile on her face that possessed the gentleness of a spring breeze. This smile was filled with an unusually magical aura. It was as though all the worries in one's heart would instantly disappear upon seeing her smile. This kind of lady appeared as though she was a fairy with the spiritual aura of the world covering her, causing her to appear perfect. The green-clothed lady slowly walked out of the distorted space. She did not look at Bing He. Instead, she slowly turned around in front of a countless number of eyes. Her bright pupils gently glanced at the young man behind her. An involuntarily sweet laugh was emitted when she saw the look of disbelief on the face behind her. The smile that had suddenly bloomed was just like an epiphyllum, emitting a shocking allure. This caused a countless number of people below to become absent-minded under her beautiful smile. A smile that could destroy a city. Idiom. Describe a great beauty that could bewitch the ruler and result in the downfall of a city. The picture-like lady shifted her feet and arrived in front of Xiao Yan. She extended her clean, white, jade-like hand and gently pressed it on Xiao Yan's head. It was as though she was estimating his height. An alluring ripple finally rose within her bright pupils, which were usually as rippleless as an old well. Xiao Yan Gege. The girl stood prettily in front of Xiao Yan as everyone around watched. Her bright lips parted and a gentle voice as smooth as silk gently sounded. Xiao Yan widened his mouth. His heart trembled due to his excitement. However, his face did not show that he had lost himself. He watched that lady whom he had thought of frequently. During these few years, the girl back then had become extremely beautiful. Moreover, Xiao Yan was pleased to find that there was still a familiar feeling in her autumn water-like eyes that warmed his heart. The appearance of the lady in front of him had really changed. Her demeanor, strength, and face was sufficient for her to become the goddess within the hearts of many people. However, the moment Xiao Yan laid his eyes on her, he understood that regardless of how she had changed, she was still that little girl who liked to follow beside him and repeatedly call out, Xiao Yan Gege. Xiao Yan's body gently trembled. A moment later, he was finally unable to endure the emotion that had been suppressed in his heart for many years. He took a step forward, extended his arms, and embraced the extremely beautiful lady in front of a countless number of exclamations. This sudden action of Xiao Yan had slightly surprised Xu. Her small mouth emitted a soft gasp before a bright redness flew onto her face. She gently struggled for a moment before giving up. Both she and Xiao Yan were no longer the youths from back then. She could sense the emotions that had been suppressed in Xiao Yan's heart. This feeling caused warmth to appear in her eyes. The eyes of the two black-clothed elders, who had appeared earlier, suddenly revealed a sharpness the instant Xiao Yan hugged Xuan-Er. However, after seeing that Xuan-Er did not even put up the slightest resistance, they ended up facing each other. Immediately, they helplessly shook their heads. They were already somewhat aware of why Xuan-Er had brought them along on this trip of hers out from the Gu realm. However, they still felt some disbelief now that they had witnessed it with their own eyes. There was an unknown number of young, handsome men with monstrous talents within the Gu clan who were infatuated and attracted to her. However, all of them merely received an indifferent treatment. Even when she was occasionally chatting with a smile, there would be a cold indifference that kept one at a distance, being emitted from her. These two old men had never met any man who dared pull Xuan-Er into an embrace in all these years. If this matter is to spread in the Gu realm, it is likely that those brats would go crazy. A white-haired, black-clothed man rolled his eyes and involuntarily muttered. Miss Xuan-Er's eyesight should be very good. From what I know, this person is a person from the Xiao clan. The other black-clothed, old man faintly added. Xiao clan? That person's descendant? The white-haired, old man was startled when he heard this. Immediately, his eyes were somewhat strange as he glanced at Xiao Yan. After which, he smiled and said, "No wonder. However, even if this is the case, it isn't easy to obtain the acceptance of the Gu clan. After all, he is merely that person's descendant and not that person himself. Moreover, young Miss is someone from the Gu clan, whose bloodline has been perfectly cared for nearly 1,000 years. Young Miss will know her limits with regards to this. It is useless for us, old fellows, to say anything." Hopefully, while these two were softly chatting, Tian Huo Zun Jie and the little fairy doctor behind Xiao Yan were startled by this scene. Tian Huo Zun Jie was still all right. He was merely surprised that Xiao Yan was acquainted with such a powerful person. The strength of the two black-clothed, old men was something that even he could not see through. They were at the very least 2 stars higher than him. The little fairy doctor's eyes were stunned as she studied Xiao Yan's back. After which, she glanced at the person in Xiao Yan's embrace. A slight dimness flashed across her pretty eyes without being detected. She had occasionally heard Xiao Yan mention this lady named Xuan-Er. From the tone he used when speaking about her, she was able to identify a hint of love. This caused her to be somewhat surprised. She clearly understood Xiao Yan's character. This fellow might appear warm, but he had seldom revealed such an emotion to anyone, especially a lady. This kind of love caused even the little fairy doctor to involuntarily feel some envy within her heart. Ever since she had been acquainted with Xiao Yan, she had only seen Xiao Yan reveal such an emotion once. The source of this emotion was the green-clothed lady in his embrace. Xiao Yan ruthlessly hugged the person in his embrace. The lady's gentle body had poured a kind of energy into his heart that had become somewhat tired after this battle. Xuan-Er allowed Xiao Yan to hold her. Some patiness flashed across her bright eyes. She was clearly aware just how difficult it had been for Xiao Yan after she had left. His clan was nearly destroyed, and his teacher was captured. These numerous blows had ruthlessly pressed down on his tender shoulders, causing Xuan-Er to feel a pain in her heart for him. However, the thing that caused her to feel pleased was that Xiao Yan did not collapse in the face of these hardships. He stubbornly endured through them and slowly walked from the Jia-Ma Empire to the Black Corner region and from the Black Corner region to the Central Plains. Moreover, he had shined bright in the process. The current Xiao Yan was no longer that tender, young man, who could only rely on his heated blood to do things. Instead, he was a genuine expert. Xiao Yan Gege, don't blame Xuan-Er for not being beside you all these years. Xuan-Er's gentle voice appeared to possess a demonic strength, causing the fatigue in Xiao Yan's heart to quietly disappear. His passion and liveliness suddenly recovered because of her. Do you think of me as such an unreasonable person? Xiao Yan smiled. He gradually returned the emotions back into his heart. After which, he rubbed Xuan-Er's head and relaxed his arm. After seeing this person once again, he felt as though his entire body was filled with an endless amount of strength. You were injured? Xuan'er's bright eyes suddenly paused on some blood traces on Xiaoyan's body. Her pretty eyes froze as she softly asked. Her voice might be gentle, but Xiaoyan keenly sensed the surrounding natural energy begin to quietly surge. The one who made me bleed currently has an injury that is 100 times worse than mine. Xiaoyan smiled. His finger pointed at a couple of deep pits and some rubble within Yi City. Xuan'er curled her mouth into a smile. Her beautiful pupils looked at the cold air permeating all around her. After which, she gently turned around. Her pretty eyes stared at Bing He a short distance away. A golden-colored flame slowly appeared in her bright eyes while her gentle voice slowly sounded. Will you leave the subsequent matters to Xuan'er?